Hello and happy Sunday, everybody. It's Kelly with IfYouHaveAnEgg.com. And today is Sunday, January the 5th. Yeah, we've made it to January and we're in a different spot in the loft tonight because I needed to be able to use the computer. But you made it to January, you survived, and you made it to a new decade. So it's not just a new year, it is a new decade. Hopefully Facebook's going to be good to us tonight since it is a new year and a new decade. But Happy New Year, everybody, in case I haven't talked to you already, and Happy New Decade. So hopefully we'll get to see those comments because we've got a lot of funny stuff to talk about tonight. The second half of tonight's chat is going to be hilarious. But this is chat number 1. And it is titled Your Guide to Setting New Year's Resolutions. So somebody say hey, so I can tell whether or not the comments are working. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up on my phone here just so I can make sure that I am with you all. But it is Sunday and it is January the 5th. I can see that people are watching. Haven't seen any. Oh, great. Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be able to see comments on the iPad tonight. So we're going to have to be playing, dual vision like we do. So let me go ahead and try to catch up with you all. Hello, Melissa. Hello, Janice. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Betty. Hello, Carol Lou. Hi, Sylvia. Hello, Barbara. Hi, Claudie. And hello, Sherry. So really irritating when Facebook does this to me, but oh well. Okay, and hopefully I'm not as blurry as I am on my phone. Hello, Rosie. Hello, Christy. Hello, Sylvia. So I've got my phone on data instead of running on the internet so that we can use all of the available Wi-Fi for us. Hello, Marlene. Hi, Scarlett. Hello, Lynn. Let's see, making sure I not miss anybody. My Christy, Rosie, I think I got you all. Hello, Maria. Hi, Kim. Hello, Evie. So it is another Sunday. It's a new year. Hello, Shirley Ann. Hello, Tag. And hello, Kim. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube.com and if you don't want to see all the hi and hellos, hello, Teresa, just grab that little scroll bar and drag it over to about 10 minutes. There's no need to let me know. Hello, Sandy. Hello, Janice. It has been a while. Hello, Barbara from the Crossroads. I am in a new spot. Hello, Debbie. Hello, Sandra from Dingman's Ferry. But yeah, if you don't want to see the hi hellos late, if you're watching this later, just grab that scroll bar and go on across. Seriously, no reason to let me know you don't like it. So we're just going to keep doing it. If no other reason than to irritate the people who don't like to say hi and hello. We're just going to keep doing it. Okay, sadly, I'm having to look at my phone for all the hi and hellos. So hello, Teresa. Hello, Betty. Hi, Sylvia. We're just in a different spot in the loft. Hello, Darlene. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy new decade. Hopefully y'all can hear me okay. Yeah, it's looking better on my end. I don't know why Facebook is so weird, but anyway, if you're watching this later, again, on YouTube, it's just youtube.com, search If You Have an Egg. Hello, Sandy. Hello, Kimberly. Kimberly's back again. Awesome. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Irma. That's your new nickname. Hello, Irma. Hello, Asma. But yeah, if you're joining us for the first time, we would love to tell you hi and hellos. And yes, my Christy, I love all the highs and hellos too. So yeah, we love to tell you hi and hello. So if it's your very first time though, let us know. Let us know because we would love to welcome you. Hello, Tina. And everybody else, hey and hello. Hi, Audrey. And if you are watching it later, hello, Susan. If you're watching this later on YouTube, again, youtube.com, search If You Have an Egg, or hello, Daisy, or if you're watching it later on Facebook, if you weren't live, still go ahead and say hi and hello, and I will say hello back. Yes, and we will welcome you. So we do have, I just saw Sandra pop on here. So we've got a couple of people to check in on. Hello, Kathy. Sandra, Mary, and Karen have all had husbands in the hospital this last week. What up with that? So how are all the guys doing? We need to know about that. We need to check in on that. Hello, Loretta. And somebody asked, Melissa asked about the second birthday celebration. It was awesome and amazing. We had a great time. Alyssa had her second birthday this last week. And hello, Vicky. And yeah, and her party was last night. It was yesterday. And we had a gaggle of toddlers there. So that was pretty fun. Hello, Stacy. That was lots of fun to have that many. I think we had 6 that were under 5. So we only had 1 5-year-old. So it was technically, hello Dee from California. So it was technically, hello Patty, it was technically a 5-year-old and then 5 under 3. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Okay, so yeah, everybody just check in on our girls that had, have had husbands in the hospital. It's just crazy, but Year. Hello, Sherry. Oh, Sherry is in cold and dreary Connecticut. And hello, Marianne. Oh my gosh, and Scarlett's fiance was in the hospital this last week. What is going on? What is it with the holidays? It drives everybody crazy. And Sandra says she loves my nails. So at risk of making it go all glitchy again, I will show you all real quick. Let's see, moving my hands too fast made it go glitchy. Oh good, Betty loves her shirt. My nails this week are called Stormwatch. And so, oh, wait a minute. Susan had her first grandchild on New Year's Eve. Awesome. You know, Alyssa was born on New Year's Eve. So how exciting. They have the same birthday, just 2 years apart. But it's called Stormwatch. And in case y'all didn't know, Casey is she is a Color Street, what do you even call that? It's not a consultant. Stylist. She's a Color Street stylist. So yeah, so if you want more information about the nails, you can go check that out. It's just colorstreet.com/CN Bohannon. But anyway, okay, so hope everybody had an awesome week. We have survived Christmas, New Year's, birthday party. I'm going to stop moving my hands so that I quit making it so glitchy. Don't know why it's doing that. Probably going on in the background. You know what? Hold on a second. I'm going to turn the TV off. Maybe that'll help because I had it on mute. But anyway, and somebody's got the crud. Sherry has the crud. Oh no. Okay, so the creeping crud. Yeah, so anyway, we survived the new year. We survived the new decade. We've all made it. We are all here. Is there anybody with us that is in, okay, and wait, Sandra says hi from Chicago. Yes, hi Sandra. And Ken is still in the hospital. Looking good for him to go to rehab at the end of next week. That is awesome. That is awesome. And she is still at Lifetime. She actually did really well. It sounds like their hospital had lots of good options. So it sounds like it had lots of good options, of things for her to eat. Actually, sounded better than what our hospitals here in Knoxville do. So we were kind of jealous over that. And hello, Trish. Trish just got back from vacation, ran in the house, and turned us on. So she, I think, is ready to be back on plan. But is there anybody that's new tonight? So is there anybody that's new with us to the live chats or that is new to WW or Weight Watchers? Because we're going to talk about some fun Weight Watchers stuff later. So that would be, I think it's going to be fun for those of us that have been doing it for a while, but I think it's going to be even more fun for people who have never been on WW before. Because, if they don't know anything about the plan, it's going to be super funny, I think. Anyway, so I had a lot of fun, reading all the things that that we got ready for tonight. And Stacy had surgery on Friday, and she's not sure what to expect for recovery. So, and Sharon is new to the live chats. So everybody tell Sharon hello. So welcome Sharon, and welcome Maria. Maria is new to us. Not new to Weight Watchers, but she is new to us. Everybody welcome her. Everybody welcome Sharon and Maria. So while y'all are welcoming each other, we will talk a little bit about last week. So last week we had, and I can't move my phone too far away since that's the only way I'm getting notifications. So last week was chat number 154, and it was how to survive and thrive throughout the holidays. So sounds like you all not only survived, but you thrived. So you made it through Christmas, New Year's. We had birthday parties. We had anniversaries. We had, I don't know, it was like, 6 celebrations in between Christmas Eve and last night. But done. So all of our celebrating is done until Super Bowl time. Which is the second, in case y'all didn't hear that last week, that is the second biggest day that food is consumed in the United States is Super Bowl Sunday. So last week for chat number 154, so who attended a physical workshop last week? If you're new with us, if you're watching live, you just do a thumbs up. So down here, since I have my phone on, I can do a thumbs up. If you sat your bottom in a little chair, I'm skipping ahead. If you sat your bottom in a chair last week, so if you sat your bottom in a chair last week, then do a thumbs up. So just push that little thumbs up button down there in the corner. If you sat your bottom in a chair, or if you attended here with us live last week, or if you did both, give us some hearts. And look, since I have my phone going, I'll do some hearts. Yeah, so I only attended with us here. So we have not had our meeting the last 2 weeks because of the holidays. So we did not have it because it was on Christmas Eve and then on New Year's Eve. So Tuesday night of this week will be the first time that Karen and I have been to a meeting in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks. So, we're hoping for good news. But anyway, so for all of you all who attended a physical workshop this past week, wow. That is awesome. So the week of New Year's, bravo stickers. And for those of you who attended, either sat in a chair or you attended with us or both, more bravo stickers. So you all, are the bomb. And Janice says she's been AOL forever. So it doesn't seem like it's been that long, Janice. But you all have attended meetings, you've tracked, you've kept up with it. Even if you ate everything that you wanted to, like we ate so much at Alyssa's party because my sister made part of the food. But we ate so much at her party. But you know what? I just tracked it the best that I could, and moved on. But so you all have been attending. You've been attending either physical workshops or with us through all of the major holidays. So you know what? It's smooth sailing from here on out. So we have how many more months to not worry about this? So we have how many more months to be successful? Yeah, and on track until it's time for the next big holiday. So Super Bowl Sunday's one day. I don't know anybody that's eating, for days leading up to Super Bowl Sunday, kind of like we do the holidays. But the next major holiday, we're way far away from that. So we've got lots and lots and lots of time to get back on track. But last week, what we talked about, so we talked about how to survive and how to thrive throughout the holidays. So did anybody have any magnanimous realizations last week? So we thrived in the sense that I stayed on track leading up to Alyssa's party. Even that day, even during the day, I stayed on track, and then I just went ahead and tracked 50 points for what I had at her party. So I know a couple of people probably just passed out because I said 50. But it's okay. We had popcorn, we had TIE fighters. If you didn't see the post yet of the food that we had, the TIE fighters were so cute. And my sister made lightsabers because it was an R2D2, because Alyssa was 2, party. So she had lightsabers that were, dipped in candy coating, and we had pizza and whatever. So I just went ahead and counted 50 points. But yeah, so that's part of thriving, is not going crazy, because I could have said, okay, well, last week was Christmas, then it was New Year's, then we have Alyssa's party, so I might as well just eat, whatever, just eat and eat and eat. Hello, Andrea. Yeah, and is hubby with us? But, we could just eat and eat and eat, and then say, well, I'm going to start over again, in January, but that's part of that survival. So had several people that did their homework last week. The homework was to name one non-scale way that you knew that you thrived this holiday. So we had a couple of people that were down. And hello, Andrea's. Oh, sorry, don't look down there. Hello, Andrea's husband, and welcome. Yeah, he's new with us, so they are back on track, and hubby has joined this time. So yay to Andrea and hubby. But we had several people that the way that they knew was because tummies weren't upset. A couple people went down, like their weight actually went down, but this was a non-scale way. So we had some people that clothes were more comfortable. We had moved either the belt over to the next hole, on their belt loop, or like John, not poor John. He's lost so much weight that now he has to take his belt and go pull it way out and move it all the way over to keep his pants up. I think he's going to have to get some new pants. But anyway, so several of you did your homework. Again, not a stellar amount, but it was a holiday, so I wasn't really expecting everyone to do it. But bravo to the people who did do their homework. Thank you all so much for doing that, especially on a holiday week. So, it's easy to forget, forget to do these things, but you all have been the bomb. So you all have actually been really, really good, through the holidays. So I'm super proud of you. So you know what? Extra bravo sticker, and I will be sure and tell John what you all are saying. I will let him know. This week though, so this is January the 5th. And if you were here with us on January the 5th, you were watching this live. Oh, trust me, John gets lots of Bravo stickers, Loretta. But you're watching it with us live. And this is chat number 155, and this is your guide to New Year's resolutions. Okay, so every single year, I hear the wildest, craziest New Year's resolutions. Saw some really, really funny ones. Saw some that I thought were funny, but then I realized that people were being serious. So these are 4 things that WW wants to remind us about for our New Year's resolutions. Number 1, you need to reflect on your successes. So it's a lot easier to make a doable resolution if you can reflect back on what your successes were too. So if you can look back and see what some things were, some things that you changed or that you do differently, then that might help to kind of mold what you're going to do this year, for your resolutions. So number 1, look back on what your successes were for last year. And successes don't have to be things like, aloha Kathy, don't have to be things, like lost a ton of weight. It could be, successes could be, that you didn't hit the buffet, or that you didn't attend all the parties, or that, it could be little things. They don't have to be huge things, but it can help to set you up for better choices on your resolutions for this year. The second one is to evaluate your challenges. So, just take a second to make a quick list of what your challenges might be. And those are challenges that you can know about. So like Karen had some challenges this last week. Obviously, she wasn't expecting her husband to go into the hospital, and she wasn't expecting to have him go after she had just had, for the first time in over a year, I think, had all 3 kids at home for the holidays. All 3 kids, the grandbaby, she's not a baby anymore, but anyway, Una's a big girl, but had everybody home trying to get all this stuff done. So she wasn't expecting to have that, but things that you can evaluate and know what your challenges are going to be. Like if you have a wedding coming up, if you have a child graduating from school, if you have a high school reunion, if that you or a loved one has a planned surgery. So if something's coming up, if you can go ahead and jot those challenges down so that you can plan around them, then that's going to be another way to do well with your resolutions. And then if their third one they said is if you know where you're going, so you can create a longer term goal. Instead of just saying I'm going to do blah this year. If you say, okay, so by February I want to have accomplished this. So if you set some, if you create a longer term goal to achieve like by the end of February, by the end of, March, whatever, then you can kind of visualize what success looks like. And that's not such a long time away that you don't have time to regroup. So if whatever you had planned for February, if it needs a little tweaking, then you can just regroup and tweak, and then maybe have a new goal for the end of March and the end of April. So a New Year's resolution doesn't have to be for the whole year. And then the fourth thing they say is to set a weekly goal. So based on everything that you've already learned, or if you're brand new, let me make sure I didn't miss something. So based on everything that you already know, or if you're brand new with WW, you already have some life experiences that will help you with this. But set doable, specific doable goals, weekly goals, instead of just one big annual goal. So that's where I want to lead in with segue to this, and that is realistic versus unrealistic New Year's resolutions. So I do think it's really smart to make weekly goals. I do think it's really smart to make monthly goals, and I do think it's really smart to make a couple of generic, annual goals that can be tweaked, if you need to make some modifications to them, throughout the year. So one thing that I might consider to be an overwhelming and unrealistic goal is if you just say, okay, it's January the 5th, I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay, that's great. That's great to want to lose 50 pounds or 100 pounds or however much it is, but that's not very specific. By when? How are you going to accomplish that? Are you going to give yourself enough time? Is it realistic? Have you, do you have 50 pounds to lose? Are you expecting it to be too fast, too slow, too whatever? So if you break it down into smaller bits, like maybe if you say, okay, I want to lose, my goal is to lose 5 pounds. And then my next goal is going to be to lose 5 more pounds by X date, or within, 8 weeks, or, make some specific amount and specific time, but it has to be, reachable and doable. An even better one, again, I used to freak out about the scale all the time, but I just don't anymore. Yes, it still irritates me. Yes, I still get mad at it a lot, but I'm just not as obsessed with it as I used to be. So now things more like, I'd like to be able to wear my wedding rings again. If your fingers have gotten, puffy, and to be able to get your rings back on again, that might be a better goal. I'd like to be able to wear my rings again by the end of the month. Or by June or something, to set a different kind of a goal instead of being so weight focused. And plus, this is something that you can measure without getting on the scale, or that you'd like to go down a clothing size by X amount of time. Because again, you can see it, you can feel it. You don't have to wait until you weigh in at the scale. This one is one that I hear people use all the time. I hear people say all the time, I'm going to walk every day 10,000 steps a day. Okay, that's great. That is awesome. But what if you don't walk at all right now? So if you aren't walking at all, or, some kind of exercise, I'm going to work out 7 days a week, or, it's this all or nothing, kind of mentality. So what if you don't already, we're going to go back to the walking one because that one's an easy one for me to do the math on. So what if you don't walk yet? What if you aren't currently walking for exercise? 10,000 steps a day is a lot. That's a huge goal. Yeah, Betty just said lose 10% of body weight, then 10% more, then 10% more. That seems realistic. But if you don't already, if you're not already in, and if you're not already exercising, then, 10,000 steps a day is hard. That would be hard. It's not realistic. 10,000 steps a day every single day. I'm sorry, you're probably going to quit. You're probably not going to do it, every single day. See, and Christy is a great example. My Christy is a great example of that. Her goal is 8,000 steps a day. She knows she can do it. She knows she can get it every day. She's not killing herself trying to get the extra 2,000 steps. And you know what? If she does get the extra 2,000 steps, awesome. There is nothing on the planet that says it has to be 10,000 steps. I don't even know where that started from. But if you are just starting at the beginning, how about you say, I'm going to walk 1,000 steps. That's a half a mile. I'm going to get 1,000 steps a day, 3 days a week. That would be amazing. So that would be 3 times as much as what you're doing now if you don't, if you started with something like that. Or if you're already walking, let's say 2,000, 3,000 steps a day, why don't you try to just up your goal 1,000 steps? Just baby steps, baby step it up. You don't have to go from 0 to 10,000 or even 5,000 to 10,000. You don't have to go that high. And again, 10,000, there's no magic number to 10,000. The only reason 10,000 is there is because on your Fitbit, it makes little, fireworks if you hit your goal. And for some reason, 10,000 seems to be the one that, most people pick. So exercise goals, keep them small, do it in increments. If you're already working out, just try to work out, maybe if you work out 3 days a week, how about working out a 4th day a week, or adding some walking, or just add something small. Don't go 0 to, again, don't go 0 to 10,000, all at the same time. And it looks like a couple of y'all had some really good things talking about curves. Do they still have curves? That is so cool. The gym 3 times a week for 45 minutes, and that's good enough for her. And the other day she moves enough. You know what? That is perfectly good. That is awesome. Hello, Myra. Lisa wants to know if anybody wants to set up some Fitbit challenges to help stay on track. I think that would be a great idea. Hello, Andrea. Andrea says she's missed us. Lynn's going to go back to curves 2 days a week. See, I think that's perfect. Scheduling has gotten in the way, and so 2 days a week seems perfectly doable. Yeah. So another one is see, Andrea's going to work on drinking her water. Okay, so Andrea, so let's be a little bit more specific. So when you say you're going to be working on drinking your water, what does that mean? Does that mean that you're going to keep track of your water? Does that mean that you're going to make tick marks somewhere? I saw one of the girls in our group had the coolest thing she had. She had decided she was going to drink 1 gallon of water every day. and it was going to be every day. So she had a jug at work that she had marked, and she had it marked for when, if I can't remember if it was when she had to drink it or if it was like motivational talk on the way down, so that she could keep up with it. But that way she knew, when she got to the end of it, anything beyond that, was a bonus. But another one is people talking about meal prepping. So, I'm not a big meal prepper. And when I set up goals for myself to say, okay, I'm going to meal prep for the next 7 days, that ain't going to happen. That is not going to happen. Even to say that I'm going to meal prep for the next 5 days, that is not gonna happen. So people saying they're gonna meal prep every day, they're gonna track every day, they're gonna anything, I'm gonna do every single day, unless you're already doing some of those days. Like if you're already meal prepping for 5 days and you want to go to 7, you can probably do that. That's probably a manageable goal. If you are, tracking 5 days a week and you want to go to 7, that's probably a doable goal. If you're tracking 0 days a week, or if you're meal prepping 0 days a week, I'm going to say do one. Do one. So for this next week, this is your New Year's resolution is to try this week, and then the next week, and then the next week. So if you're doing 0, I'm going to say do 1. That's going to be your goal for this next week, is to do 1. So do 1 day of meal prepping. Just meal prep for 1 day. That's it. Or track 1 day. And once you get 1 day down, then do another day. Then once you get 2 days down, then do another day. You see where I'm headed with this? And practice makes perfect. So your homework for this week is going to be to think of an unrealistic New Year's resolution that you've had maybe in the past, maybe this year. Hello, Susie. But maybe it's been in the past, but maybe it was this year. But think of an unrealistic one, an unreachable New Year's resolution, and I want you to think of a way to phrase it so that you could do, so that you could do it, or one that would be better, and try to phrase it in a positive way. Like instead of saying, I'm never going to eat chips or candy again. So to say, like for me, to say, my New Year's resolution is I'm never going to eat chips or candy again. Okay. First of all, that's negative. Second of all, that's not going to happen. Third, if I say I'm never going to eat them again, it's just going to make me want them. Okay. So instead, maybe I could say my New Year's resolution is to limit chips to eating out, or eating at, somewhere else, or I'm going to limit it to baked chips and only once a month. Or, if it's going to be sweet, maybe you're going to limit it to once a week. But that anytime I do have that, I will track it. So instead of saying never ever gonna have them again, go ahead and make a plan for when it's going to be, how much it's going to be, but track it. So try to turn that negative into a positive. So, but that is your homework for this week, is to take an unrealistic one, like going from 0 to 10,000 steps, going from 0 to like 7 days of meal planning, or saying, I'm going to lose 100 pounds by the end of February. Try to take those unrealistic ones and turn them into a more realistic one. And go ahead and tag me in that. So if you are doing this on Instagram, tag me at IfYouHaveAnEgg. If you are doing it here in our Facebook, on the Facebook page, which is a public page, it's at IfYouHaveAnEgg. So remember, that's that @ sign. If you have an egg, if you're in our closed group, it is at Kelly Green Milligan. And if you are doing this on WW Connect, it is at Scrap and Stamp 2, SCRAPNSTAMP, and the number 2. And Rosie says it's really lagging and blurry. Sorry, it's not on my end, so I don't know what to tell you. You may have to get out and get back in. But anyway, so do that as your homework, and you'll get some extra Bravo stickers next week. So love to see what you do. And if you're doing this, if you're going to let me know on YouTube, or if you're going to let me know, some other way, just be sure and tag me, but go ahead and put that in the comments. Okay. We're going to take a quick break, because what we're going to talk about for the second half, I do want to make sure that we have the whole time, and it is hilarious. Some of it is hilarious. So I want to make sure that we have plenty of time for it. I did have to move us over into another area in the loft, because I have to be able to see the computer for this part. So I'm going to take my water break. It's time for water, Barbara. So I'm going to go ahead and take my water break, and then we'll be right back. Yes, Sandra, it's time for water. Okay, and we are back. So this is part 2. It is the extra credit for chat number 155, which was your guide for your guide to setting New Year's resolutions. So this extra credit portion, we're going to continue with our tour of Weight Watchers and WW over the last 6 decades. So we talked last week about the fact that WW started in Jean Niditch's, and I don't know if I'm saying it right this time, Niditch. Haven't seen Gwen yet to ask her how to pronounce it. But anyway, in her basement, with some friends, and we talked about all things 60s, about all things 1960s last week. This week, we're going to touch on the 1970s and the 1980s. The 70s, oh my gosh. Who were you poor girls? Oh, and Lisa says, do you drink your water with ice or just, I have filtered water out of the refrigerator, but I do not put it over ice. For some reason, I prefer semi-room temperature water, unless I'm going to drink it super, super, super cold. But for the most part, I drink it, pretty room temperature. But anyway, who were you poor ladies that were doing Weight Watchers in the 1970s? This was crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like, I don't know how y'all survived this. I'm going to stop complaining when WW changes things, because WW in the 70s was crazy. So, still with the no's. So many no's. So Myra joined in 74. Bless your heart. So many no's. I mean, on the list, again, no alcoholic beverages, beer or wine, bacon or fatback, cake, cookies, crackers, pies, candy, chocolate, ketchup. No ketchup? Tags in the 70s, Janice did. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And yeah, Rosie, I think she did, because from what I was reading, Rosie wanted to know if Jean always approved of the changes. From what I was reading, I think at least in the 70s, I think she did. And Vicki was 73. Yeah, but no, let's see, no ice cream, milk, ices or sherbets, jams, jellies or preserved. No ketchup though. Really, no ketchup. Muffins or biscuits, non-dairy creamers or toppings. So some of you all just quit. So if this was 1970 and they said no non-dairy creamer, some of y'all just quit, okay? You just passed out. Lynn did in 75. No peanuts or other nuts. No popcorn, potato chips, or pretzels. No custards. Yeah, and then the amounts that you could have. So women for bread. So the rules that they had for bread, and I love that they had rules. Like now in 2020, if they told us that those were the rules, so now there are suggestions or guidelines or whatever, but back then, but they were rules. So the rules for bread, women could have 1 slice for breakfast and 1 for lunch. That's it. That's all the bread. Yeah, and you had to use packaged pre-sliced enriched bread or 100% whole wheat bread. The slices should be 1/2 inch to 1 inch, should be approximately 1/2 inch thick, which should weigh about an ounce. No thin sliced dietetic or specialty bread. So why no thin sliced or dietetic bread? I don't understand why none of those. And it must be eaten at mealtime only, not in between. You could have like cottage cheese. You could have that. Eggs. You could have eggs 4 times a week. You're supposed to use them for breakfast and lunch, never for dinner. No eggs for dinner. Sorry, girls. Sorry. Shellfish. Women were supposed to have 2 ounces for breakfast, 4 ounces for lunch of fish or shellfish. You were supposed to have. Let me get down to the funny ones here. So there were you could have certain amounts of meat and things, but you were always supposed to have lots of vegetables, which I think is a great idea. But they had them divided up into Group A and Group B as to what you could have. And then so many funny things. They still had the liver. Still going on with the liver, still going on with some of the tuna and things that they wanted you to eat multiple times a week. But the part that I thought was so funny, I actually found, first of all, so many restrictions. I think it would have been nearly impossible to follow, because you had to do a minimum of this, and once you got to this, then you could have that. So if you had your minimum on the fish, then you could start having some other kinds of meat, or if you had your minimum on something else, then you could have this, and you could only have certain types of food at certain times of day, and so you could have them for breakfast and lunch, but not lunch and dinner, or dinner and not breakfast. And like the fish, you had to have it for dinner, and for lunch and for dinner, but you didn't count what you had at breakfast because you weren't eating enough at breakfast to count it. How did they know how much of fish we were eating, at breakfast? And Tag said the rules were so strict they got very creative. Okay, so that segues into the next thing. When I post this as a blog post someday, eventually, I'm going to get some of these pictures. So I found online some of the old cards, so y'all know how much I love, oh no, Janice said one of the ladies used to cube her liver and freeze it, and then pop it in her mouth and just swallowed it. Oh no, no. And Sandy said, yeah, legal and illegal, talk about guilt. Yeah, so now at least we know it's one meal, it's one day, recover and move on. We're not talking about things being legal or illegal. But anyway, so I found some of their cards. I didn't physically find some of their cards, although I would love to have some of these. But these were so hilarious. So bless your hearts, you 70s WW girls. I wish I could show you all of these, but I will try to get some, copies of them and get them printed. The first thing I found, so y'all know how much I like the little index cards. So how much I like writing down meals on the little index cards, and keeping up with it. So these were recipe cards, and they were printed and they were in color. This first one is called Chicken Liver Bake. And the person that posted this said, chicken liver bake. Enjoy it with the ashes of a loved one, or maybe what's left of the chickens or maybe what's left of the chickens are in that urn. Maybe the chickens were your loved ones, but chickens never love back enough, and that's why you have to kill them and eat their livers ritualistically, and then they're a part of you forever. Forever. And it looks hideous. It looks absolutely hideous. The next one is fish balls. Did anybody make that one? It's literally just white, gooey looking meatballs. They look nasty, so nasty. This one, I really, really, really wish that I could show you all this one. It's called Fluffy Mackerel Pudding. Fluffy mackerel. Yeah. Ugh. Fluffy mackerel pudding. Yuck. That's just disgusting. And it has a little, like a half of a hard-boiled egg sitting on top. I don't even know what that's for. What's that even for? Then there was another one called Hot Wrap-Ups, and it's lettuce, pickles, capers, lime, parsley, celery, and chives. It's just green. It's just green. It's all green, and guess what color they've garnished it with? More green. Okay. Then they had these things called slender quenchers. It's just sad. They're so sad. So they have one that was skim milk and orange pulp. Okay, if you froze that would be like an orange Julius. That one I could probably do. But the other one is, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. The other one is water, sherry extract. What is sherry extract? Is that like sherry, like the alcoholic beverage sherry? But it's water, sherry extract, and 2 beef bouillon cubes. What was that even supposed to taste like? What was that supposed to taste like? I don't even understand what they were trying to go for. Oh, anyway, there's this one's called chilled celery log. That sounds delicious. It is a disgusting looking piece of, I don't even know what's stuffed inside of it. And then this one is hilarious. It's called Caucasian shashlik. Who knows what that is? What is that? I don't know what shashlik is, but why was it called Caucasian? Caucasian? What did that have to do with anything? Anyway, okay, yeah, Caucasian shashlik, and it just looks like meat on a skewer with some parsley. So apparently parsley was a really big deal in the 1970s. Did y'all eat that for like every meal or something? Okay, and then they had a Mexican shrimp orange salad. So it's like the shrimp is orange. I don't know. And they've got water in the middle of it for something. I have no idea. And Loretta says, I think WW was on some kind of drugs in the 70s. I think you're right. Okay, then they had, this one was snacks on a stick. And so it looks like little Dixie cups is what they look like. But this one is frozen coffee. It's frozen coffee, and it's like in a little Dixie cup thing on a stick. So I guess if you're desperate enough to just make some coffee, pour it in a Dixie cup, stick a stick in it, freeze it, and lick it. I don't know, that's pretty desperate. That's pretty darn desperate. Okay, so then they had one called onion sauce, but it's a picture of a half of a fish with its head still on, and it still has the eyeball on some more green stuff that kind of looks like parsley or something. I don't know why it's called onion sauce. Does anybody have any idea why it's called onion sauce? I don't know. And then they have, the next one is snappy mackerel casserole. Snappy mackerel casserole. Why? What was with mackerel? Did y'all eat mackerel like every day? I've never even had mackerel that I know of. Never even heard of it. Okay, and I can't wait to get these and post these for you all, these pictures, and I really wish I could show you the pictures, but I was going to show you on my phone, but since I have to be able to use my phone to see your comments, I can't show you. But they had a thing called Inspiration Soup, and it's so funny because the picture, it just looks like tomato base with a little bit of green beans and something else in it. There's really not much to it, but they have 3 little multicolored candles sitting around it. Multicolored candles are supposed to make you feel better, about it. They had something called Rosy Perfection Salad, and it looks like maybe shredded beets or shredded cabbage that's been made into some kind of a gelatin salad or something, again, with parsley. So in the 1970s, was the only thing in the grocery store available for sale liver, mackerel, and parsley. Every single one of these dishes has parsley. Every single one. Okay, let's see. Hold on, I'm trying to find one more before we switch to the 1980s. Okay, a jellied tomato refresher. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like chopped up, it's like chunks, I don't know, it's like chunks of tomato, and they've garnished it with a little pepper or something, but it's like, I don't know if you're supposed to drink it. I don't know if you're supposed to drink this because it's like in a brandy snifter. So I don't know if you're supposed to drink it or if you're supposed to eat it. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't know if you're just supposed to go, and just swallow the tomato chunks or what. Anyway, totally gross. Okay, and here is absolutely the worst one. This is the worst one of them all. It's called melon mousse, and it looks like they just took melon, pureed it, put it in some kind of a jello mold, maybe froze it or something? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know what it's supposed to be. Okay, enough of that grossness, unless you want to talk about the mousse of salmon. At least it wasn't mackerel. At least it wasn't mousse of mackerel. Oh, and Kimberly said maybe it wasn't really parsley. Maybe it was another herb that gave them the munchies for liver. They gave them the liver munchies. Yeah. And Tag says parsley was high in vitamins, also took away the fish and liver breath. I can believe that. Yeah, the mousse of salmon, they even shaped it to look like a salmon. It's like salmon puree. Gross. And I don't know, I'll try to end on this one. Liver pate in masque. It's, I don't know, it's ground up pig in a bundt pan. I don't know. Totally gross. Totally nasty. Okay, so when it's time, I will get some of those pictures and I will post them for you. But that was Weight Watchers in the 80s. That was Weight Watchers in the 1980s. I promise I will never complain again. So I suggest that all WW leaders print out some of these, and the next time somebody complains about, I only had so many points left for the day, or I had to eat some, a handful of baby carrots, or something, that they hand us one of those and say, here, eat that. Eat that. Oh, Vicky says she may have that book. Vicky, we would love to see that book. We would love to see it. Okay, but let's get on to the 80s. So apparently somebody in the 1980s came to their senses, and WW made a complete turnaround. I mean, I can't imagine these people that went from the 1960s to the 1970s was not a huge jump as far as the actual plan. So still some things that were off limit, legal and illegal, talking about things like that. Whoops, I almost got off. But anyway, so still some things like that, legal and illegal, a lot of liver, a lot of fish, things like that. So there weren't any huge changes other than those obnoxious colored recipe cards, which were just obnoxious. Yeah, and Betty says, I don't think I want a nighttime snack right now. And Kimberly says, ditto. Maybe that's another way to get us to quit eating, is to look at those. But from the 60s and 70s to the 80s, complete change of plans, of programming, of thoughts on how to do this. So I don't know how many of you all were in, Carol Lou says she made Lifetime in the 80s with the kind of deal a meal, top cards. But in the 80s, it's more towards the late 80s, they switched to a program called, it's the Exchange program. And the Exchange program had a quick start. So that was in the late 80s into the early 90s, but the Exchange program and the Quick Start really made a lot more sense. So it made a whole lot more sense. It wasn't as complicated. You didn't have to eat some things before you could eat other things. So it wasn't like, you didn't have to get you didn't have to get in a certain amount of fish before you could have any other kind of protein. It didn't tell you what times of day to eat things. Plus, it was so much more simple. And actually, this is probably the most simple of the plans that they've ever had. So in the Exchange plan, you were looking at things: fruits, vegetables, proteins, breads, water, vitamins, healthy, good for you fats. You were looking at things like that, and you were exchanging or eating a certain number of exchanges, for these things. So on the Exchange program, which again started in the late 80s and did carry over into the early 90s, you could have, so as a woman on the Exchange program, and it just depended on your age. You'll see your weight. I think there was some other, criteria, but a woman, could have 2 to 3 fruit exchanges. You could have 3+ vegetable exchanges. So they wanted you to have more, vegetable exchanges. Yeah, and Lynn says that it was more, closely related to the food pyramid, which is exactly what it was. 5 to 6 protein exchanges, 2 to 3 bread or starch exchanges, 3 fat exchanges, and we'll talk about the fat exchanges here in just a second, 2 milk exchanges, and then beginning on the 5th week, so 4 weeks, on the regular plan, and then beginning on the 5th week, you could have 1 optional floating exchange, and then you could get optional calories for the rest of the week. And Sylvia, yes, a banana did count as 2 fruit exchanges. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But the optional calories per week on the first week, it was no more than 150 extra calories, or optional calories. On week 2, it was no more than 200. Week 3, no more than 300. Week 4, no more than 400, and week 5, no more than 500. And beyond. Okay, so. Some examples from the fruit group. So remember, on the fruit group, you could have 2 to 3 fruit exchanges. And examples of that were a small fruit. So remember when we talk about serving sizes, and we have talked a lot about serving sizes this last couple of years. It's because WW has let us have a little bit more freedom in our decisions about what we're going to eat instead of being so specific. But when we talk about serving sizes, so back on the old Exchange program in the late 80s and going into the early 90s, a small fruit. So like a small apple, because we've talked about giant apples and small apples. So a small apple was one exchange. A small orange, like a clementine, would be one exchange. A cup of strawberries, a cup of melon, a half of a banana. So a half of a banana was one exchange. So if you ate the whole banana, that was 2 exchanges. So just kind of keep that in mind. I know we're not on that now, but just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. There might be some reasoning behind that. Gwen still only eats a half of a banana to this day. Even though bananas are 0 now, she eats half the banana and her husband eats the other half of the banana. A half of a medium grapefruit, a half a cup of blueberries, blackberries, or raspberries, 12 large or 20 small grapes. But things like that. You could have some dried fruit on that. So 2 dates, or 4 dried apricot halves, or 2 tablespoons of raisins. Those were, those are examples of exchanges. Examples of exchanges from the vegetable group: like a cup of leafy green vegetables like lettuce or spinach, a half a cup of most other vegetables, whether they are raw or cooked, or a half a cup of vegetable juice. So if you had 5 exchanges of fruits or 5 exchanges of vegetables, that meant you could have like 5, you wouldn't going to eat necessarily 5 cups of leafy greens, but like 5 cups of leafy greens, or that would be 2.5 cups of any other kind of vegetable if it was, cooked or raw, which is a good amount of vegetables. So that's one thing that I don't like, or that I wish was a little bit different, is I do think that we should make sure, in our 0 choices, that we are still including enough vegetables, and fruit. So I did like that about the exchange, program. In the protein group, a serving, like 1 ounce of cooked meat. And remember, you could have, let's see, on a day, you could have 5 to 6 protein exchanges. So that means if you used all your protein, if you used it for like, let's just say not fish, because you all just spent 2 decades of eating nothing but fish all day, but not counting it at breakfast because you didn't eat enough at breakfast for it to count. But if you did, so you could use, so an ounce of meat was 1 egg was 1, a third of a cup of cottage cheese was 1, a fourth of a cup of canned tuna or salmon was 1, 3 ounces of tofu, or a quarter of a cup of cooked dried beans, peas, or lentils. Beans, peas, and lentils counted in that protein group. I think that's smart. Even though they're starchy, I think that is smart to count that as a fourth of a cup of those as an exchange. So if you had, let's say 3 ounces of chicken at one meal and then an egg at another meal, then you could still have a third of a cup of cottage cheese, at another meal. That would be 5 exchanges. On the bread and starch, you could have an ounce of bread or crackers, half of an English muffin, half of a cup of cooked cereal or pasta, 3/4 of a cup of dry, like cold cereal, or a half a cup of starchy vegetables. So, you got, let's see, how many bread exchanges did you get a day? You got 2 to 3 bread exchanges a day. So that, I think, is a good amount. So the way we're counting it now, I think would be pretty equivalent to that. So you could have like a muffin, for breakfast, and then you could have, say, a half a cup of potatoes with one of your other meals. And that would be your starchy exchanges. So from the fat group, I said that we were going to talk again about the fat group. This is one thing that I do think was important, way back then, and then in one of the other plans that we'll talk about next week. But for fats, they wanted you to have 2 servings, 2 exchanges of fats. But what that meant was a teaspoon, not a tablespoon, a teaspoon of oil, butter, or margarine, or lard, or mayonnaise, or animal fat, or 1.5 teaspoons of salad dressing. So you do need a small amount of fat, of good fat. You do need a small amount of good fat to help your body process everything. And you could have, from the milk group, you could have skim milk, or 1% fat milk, soy milk, buttermilk, non-fat dry milk. There were some things like that. So examples of the old exchange meal plan. So, well, first let me say this, and when I do type this up, I will put this in there. So when I started in the early, still doing the exchange program, it had what I think was the simplest way to track. Still wasn't as lenient, as easy to live with civilians, I guess, as we are now, or have as broad, of a food base as we do now. But what I did like about it was, well, first it was paper tracking, because we didn't have cell phones. So it was paper tracking, and you had little squares. So you had like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or 1, 2, whatever the day, however the days were designated. You had, columns of that. And then within that, you had breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack. But then you had little boxes that you checked off. And so for every single day, you had 8 little boxes for water. So you checked off or filled in or did something with those little boxes, but you were to have 8-ounce glasses of water a day. Speaking of which, let's take a sip real quick. But 8 glasses of water a day, and you could check off those little boxes. That was super, super simple, because you knew exactly where you were. You had 2 little squares for milk. So once you had filled in your 2 little squares for milk, you knew you were done for the day. So no more milk for today. I've already had my 2. So you could either decide, if you got ready to have something else that counted as dairy, that counted as milk, you could go, I already had one. Do I want to use my second one right now, or do I want to save it, for something later? You had 3 little boxes for fruit, and 3 was where you were supposed to stop. I still do think that's a good guideline. I think 3 to 4 servings, exchanges of fruit a day, I think that's plenty for everybody. They had 3 little boxes, and then for vegetables, but then it said or more next to it. So they wanted you to have a minimum of 3, but you could keep going on the vegetables. You could just keep going. Protein, it had 6 little boxes for you to fill in. So again, once you got to 4 or 5, you could say, I'm getting ready to run out. Because if you ran out, you were just out. You were just done. The only thing you could have if you had filled in all of your boxes by, say, noon, the only thing you could have for the rest of the day was vegetables, was non-starchy vegetables and water. That's all you could have for the rest of the day. So it really did kind of keep you accountable, because once those boxes were filled in, you couldn't have anything else. You just could not have anything else. Bread had 2 little boxes to fill in. The fats had 3 little boxes to fill in. And then you could list your optional calories, underneath that. So you're going through and you're filling in your boxes. But an example, of some of the meals look like this. So you could have, like a sample day. So for breakfast, you might have a half a cup of pineapple chunks, a third of a cup of cottage cheese, which I know a lot of people eat cottage cheese and pineapples together, a half a cup of skim milk, and some coffee or tea. So you have checked off the box for, you checked off 1 box for a fruit, you checked off 1 dairy, 1 milk box, and 1, you have done 2. Lunch, chicken and Swiss on rye, so 1.5 ounces of sliced chicken and an ounce of Swiss cheese, lettuce, 1 teaspoon of mayonnaise, because you could count that as your fat, and on 2 slices of reduced calorie raw bread. Notice now specialty breads and dietetic breads are now okay, because we're not in the 1970s anymore. 6 celery sticks and 3 cherry tomatoes, 1 cup of watermelon chunks, and coffee, tea, or mineral water. And then for dinner, you could have 3 ounces of baked chicken cutlet sprinkled with lemon juice and chopped parsley. There's the parsley again. 1 serving of mozzarella, tomato, and arugula salad. That actually sounds really good. A half a cup each of cooked cauliflower and green beans, and a half a cup of pudding. That sounds like an okay day to me. That literally sounds like an okay day to me. You got a little bit of a lot of different things. Wasn't a lot of meal prep in that. Seems like it would have been, semi-filling. But what I did like about the old exchange program was that you got in your water every day. So you made sure on that. You made sure to get some healthy fats and oils every day. And then everything else was just in moderation. But it helped you to know what the moderation was. So WW continued to make improvements. I think from where they started in the 60s and 70s, Lordy mercy, oh my gosh, that was so restrictive. Again, my hat is off to you ladies who did it in the 60s and 70s. Don't know how you did that. Do not know how you did that. So yeah, that was crazy. Could not have lived under the, I don't know, that's almost the big brothers watching you, on your diet. That would have been me hiding in the closet, eating an egg, not eating mackerel. But But anyway, so they've made lots of improvements. I do want to get those cards posted, those recipe cards posted for you all, because those are nasty. They are nasty, nasty, nasty. And if anybody has any of those, if anybody still has any, I would love for you to post some pictures. You bless your hearts. Bless your hearts. That's all I'm going to say. So y'all had to get super, super creative. Those were just, those were pretty icky times. So congratulations to the people who did lose weight in the 60s and 70s and who stuck with it. For the rest of you, don't blame you. Don't blame you. So just know the next time y'all are complaining about what you did or didn't get to eat, I'm just going to start dragging out those cards and going, at least you didn't have the salmon pate or whatever that was called. Okay, so next week we are going to talk about the 90s and the 2000s for WW for Weight Watchers. And we'll talk about something I'm sure that will be great and fabulous from our actual meeting. But if you are watching this later on YouTube, please be sure watch the next video. Go ahead and click down here to subscribe. We're only 10 subscribers away from 4,000. There's nothing special about 4,000. I just like to see those round numbers. So go ahead and click down here to subscribe. Again, we're just 10 away from 4,000. Go ahead and share it with somebody that's new. That's how a lot of you all found us, was from YouTube. So that would be awesome if you could help out a fellow WWer or somebody who's brand new, who just doesn't know where to start, is to go ahead and share these with them. Because again, they're free. It's a free way for them to start, especially if they can't attend a meeting or a workshop, because they can come here and attend with us, and they can always watch them on demand later. So go ahead and click subscribe there, and remember to hit the little bell so that you'll be notified when we have new videos come up. Or you can order a spreadshirt over here and help support us. So Dusty is passed out. He had another busy day today, and I'm sitting down, so I'm not going to try and grab him. But y'all have an awesome week. Yeah, I'd rustle up some of those cards, look for those online. Whew, they were good for a good laugh. You'll at least, make a couple of fit points, earn a couple of fit points belly laughing when you look at those. But y'all have a great week. You did survive the holidays. Congratulations, everybody. More Bravo stickers before you go to bed. Sweet dreams. We will see you next week. Yeah, see you later. Thank you very much for